These are the 3 pieces of advice that I would have given myself if I was starting Coefficient Labs all over again. The first is focus on the right clients. When you're starting a business, it's really easy to just take anyone that's going to offer you money. You're struggling, you're trying to figure out how to get off the ground, fake it till you make it. And so you end up basically taking anyone that's willing to work with you. But the problems are that you don't actually build a product that's going to continue to solve problems for your target or ideal customer. The biggest thing I've learned along the way is find the right sort of client for your company and make sure that everything that you're building aligns with the goals of that client. When you start taking on companies that are outside of your core audience, you end up putting team resources into building tools or building products or building services that aren't applicable to the actual companies you want to be working with. You end up having your team working on all sorts of different projects, and so even their own skill set gets hindered by not being able to focus. Really, in startups, everything is about focus, time management, and your intensity that you bring to it. And so if I could start all over again, I would have focused on one specific type of client and spent the next 10 years building products and services that solve that person or those people's problems. When you're starting a business, whether it's an agency or a product, I think it's important to recognize the sort of customers and clients that give you energy. When you start a company, you're not just starting it to be a 1 month or a 2 month long engagement. You're looking to build a business that sustains for years, and there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. And so part of that is ensuring that the types of customers you work with bring you energy, that get you excited. And so for me, I've always been someone that loves the journey of the venture-backed ecosystem. Step 1 in choosing the right customer is first asking yourself, what gets me excited? What's going to make me want to come day after day after day? It's not just about the size of the team. It's not just about how much revenue the client is bringing in. It also has to do with the sort of world that gets you excited and gets you up in the morning. And so for me, it's always been paid acquisition for teams that are looking to grow and hit their next round of funding. When you're first starting out building a company, you have all of these thoughts in your head I need to get a COO, I need to get a director of product, I need to get a title, and you don't really realize that titles can be really wishy-washy, and it's really the things that you need that person to do that's going to actually help your company grow. And so sometimes as a founder, we think about this ideal person that exists, but we don't actually think about the things that we want them to do. And so there's a great book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, where he says, don't hire to grow your team, hire to buy back your time. And as a founder, you are the person that needs to protect your time the most, whether it's in sales or product or leading or hiring. When you think about building your team, don't think about just hiring whatever job title feels like what you think is the right fit. Hire for someone that's going to actually take tasks off your plate, that's going to be able to give you more time so that you can put more of your energy into the things that are going to help the company grow, not just grinding away just because that's just what you think you're supposed to be doing. Startups are always about wearing multiple hats. You hear this all the time when you're joining a startup, when you're starting a startup, especially if you're the founder of the business. You really do need to be good in all the different areas so that you can find the right people and so you can really solve the problems that you're going after. But sometimes you don't realize that there are certain things you do throughout the day that charge you up, that energize you, that get you excited, that help the company. And there are certain things that really take energy away from you. And it's not just you as a founder, it's your teammates. And so one of the things that we do at Coefficient Labs and that they also recommend in the book is to do an audit. Have everyone on your team go through all of the tasks that they're currently working on and put a plus sign next to it if it's something that brings them energy and gets them excited and lights them up. Put a neutral if they're I could do it, don't care, or put a negative if it takes energy away from them. While this is really important for myself to do, I think it's even more important to do if you want to build a healthy and exciting team, because sometimes you'll have different teammates that are working on different tasks and you just sort of assume that they like doing it or that they're good at doing it, but you don't actually realize until it's far too late that some of the things that they're working on to them are a negative and take energy away from them, where for someone else, it's the sort of thing that gives them energy and gets them excited. For me, I love selling, I love closing deals, but then when it comes to actually making the paperwork, sending the contract out. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do that. You sort of have this voice in your head that's like, well, dude, you should do that, right? You just close the deal, send the paperwork over. It's one of those things where if you can buy back the time of creating that document, if you could buy back the time of the interaction back and forth, you can spend that time on selling more. You could spend that time on closing more deals, hiring more people. And so time is the most limited asset that you have, and you need to spend that time so specifically with enough intensity to grow. Everything is revolving around the time that you spend on each of these tasks. And so doing an energy audit on yourself, on your team, is something that I've found to be the best use of time. And it's something that if I started all over again, I would build it into my interview process. I would build it into my one-on-ones. I would build it into my quarterly meetings, my end of year, because people change over time. The team that you have to go from your first 1 client or 2 clients to the 10, 20, 30, 100 mark is different, and everyone evolves as they beget families, as they have different ideas of what they want in their own careers. It's important as a founder to have a pulse both on yourself of what brings you energy, what takes energy away, as well as for your team. It builds more trust. It builds more excitement amongst your teammates. When they know that you care about the sort of things that they're excited about and you're actually helping them grow towards their end goals, that's how you build a culture of people that want to come to work every day, that want to work hard because they know that the leader of the company cares about what's important to them. And if I think back to every teammate that's ever left Coefficient Labs, I think about how things could have been different had I jumped in earlier and really learned like, what is it about your current job that takes energy away from you? And then being a partner to help them unblock that, whether it's in bringing a new resource, in delegating that to another teammate, in coming up with a creative solution with AI. There's all these different ways that you can remove blockers. That's something that I'm constantly trying my best to work at because people change over time, and the energy that you bring into an office space or into a work environment is really part of the outcome of how successful your team is going to be. For every company, for every agency out there, there's going to be like a life cycle of your clients, right? Whether they're a customer of your product or your service, there are times throughout the journey that the client is really happy. They're really excited. They love the work that you're doing. They, have sent you an email that said, hey, we love what you guys just did, or this has helped us get a new client. And oftentimes we'll just read the email and be like, oh, cool, that's awesome. I'm happy that they're excited. But we don't think too often about the importance of getting a testimonial and getting other people to speak on your behalf. And so whether it's a product and someone has that aha moment, that great experience, that's when you want to put in the rate us in the app store or fill out this survey. If you're an agency and the client has just said like, this is an amazing asset, that's an opportunity to reach back out to them and say, hey, it would be so helpful for our team if you'd be willing to give us a testimonial at the end of the relationship, after it's all done, after months or years. And for whatever reason, that client decides to stop using your product, or they decide to go a different direction and try another agency or whatnot, it's the worst time to ask for a testimonial. A piece of advice that I would give myself, which I still need to give myself more today, is use the positive experiences that people have and try to immediately turn that into a testimonial or a case study. It's really about the timing. Asking for a testimonial at any point, there's nothing wrong with it. It's always great to ask for a testimonial, especially if you've done a great job. It's just that if you pair it with an experience they had that they're really excited about, they're way more likely to give you that positive review. Like if you think about going to a restaurant, most people leave the review, both positive and negative, right after the experience. And I think we need to kind of pull that into the ecosystem of agencies. When someone's had a great experience, that's the moment where you want to ask for the testimonial and get the case study. Guys, thanks so much for watching this short Q&A video. If you enjoyed this sort of content and you want to hear more about how we built Coefficient Labs over the last 10 years, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and come check us out on our next episode coming out soon. Much love from everyone at Coefficient Labs. Peace.